The world in which the action of the story takes place is divided into several parts. Middle-earth is inhabited by dragons, humans, and many other races. The demonic world, where demons and monsters live, and the spirit world, where the dead dwell. The main character in this story was a resident of the spirit world. The spirit world is where the soul resides for a while after death. Although the concept of inhabitant does not exist here, the girl decided to invent it herself and did not intend to reincarnate. She was the first victim in the history of mankind, when civilization was just emerging. It's still hard to say to whom she was dedicated. Some say to heaven, but the gods didn't accept the sacrifice, and dragons had no contact with humans at the time. Perhaps there was no point in her death. So the girl decided not to be reborn, not to become human again. But it so happened that the experiment was successful. One day, the protagonist of this story felt pressure in her chest. She did not expect to find herself in a human body very soon. And how to understand it? Completely did not know the girl. Is something bothering you, doll? You have become a powerful doll that will not die. The body was created by the workers of the Mage Tower, who have given their entire lives to this endeavor. Unexpectedly, the man who was standing next to her told her, "However, since it's impossible to nurture a soul, we had to issue a body. Now you can easily destroy even dragons, but only after the ability transfer experiment is successfully completed," added one of the mages. "Don't worry, you're not human, so you won't feel any pain. Your soul has a powerful spiritual force, so it won't be affected by the shock, and your body is just as strong." The man also tried to comfort her. Listening to his words, the girl immediately realized that she would now become a lab rat. However, she no longer had the right to refuse, not even the possibility of such a thing. But at that same time, the girl decided not to give up, and defiantly summoned the dragon's unclean power. The human body surprisingly withstood such a strong load. No lie, it stood up to it. Good body. The protagonist thought aloud. But now the girl had angered the lab technicians even more. "Kill her! Hurry up!" shouted one of the mages. This was exactly why the girl didn't want to be reborn. But now she was not afraid, since she had a companion by her side who could destroy these experimenters in a blink of an eye. It had been several days since the girl had been sitting in the ruins of the destroyed tower. Breaking everything was nice, but what to do now? Wondered the girl. At the same time, she realized that there were no more options. There was an option to go anywhere but nowhere. I terribly hate even the thought of living among people, and they are unlikely to accept a doll that does not age. I want to return to the spirit world, but it's impossible in this body. You can break it as much as you want, but death will not be achieved. This is the fate of the doll. The protagonist of this story realized with pity. At that moment, some man suddenly addressed her. "You are not a human being. Is this your handiwork? I am the ruler of the Demon Kingdom, Demon King Carl." The stranger introduced himself. It was then that the girl decided to ask if it was true that his grandfather's name was Chester. "That's great-grandfather's name. How do you know him?" Surprised in response, the boy asked. As it turned out, the man had bragged about his grandchildren many times in the spirit world. I remembered him well. A strange man that called himself an old man, even though he was the same milksop, the girl said, after which Carl had even more questions, because he did not know who this lady was. Since the protagonist could not introduce herself to the inhabitants of the spirit world, who was called by force, she decided to tell him that she was the subject of the study. "There's something strange around you. Is it also because of the research?" "You look strong," the man remarked. What surrounded the girl were her powers. However, she didn't consider herself strong because she couldn't even die. "I have a son. I want you to be his butler. Did you know that demons are born with one of the 3 powers?" The man decided to ask. Of course, the doll already knew the answer to that question: absorption, seduction, and destruction. Carl's son just happens to possess destruction. Among the previous demon kings, none had such power. When this child becomes a demon king, he will have enough power to gift you death. Carl unexpectedly cheered her up. If you will be my son's butler until he gets the throne, he will surely fulfill his mission, the man promised. Will he? But I've been in the spirit world for too long, so I don't know much about documents, and I definitely don't know what butlers do. The girl decided to confess, but Carl was completely calm about it. Don't worry, you'll still have an assistant in terms of documents. You only need to protect your son and maintain discipline in the castle, told Carl. The girl's joy was unbounded at that moment. Then I won't have to do the paperwork. Does that mean that under stress, you can beat the servants as much as you like? Will the little brat be able to send me back to the spirit world? Reasoned the protagonist. The son's name is Julian. This game has taken its toll, said Carl before sending the newly acquainted girl to his castle. As soon as the girl entered the study, the head servant immediately began to inquire about her origins. But when the girl replied that she was a doll, it was explained that it was not a race. All right, I'll put down doll. May I know your name? Asked the guy's next question. Well, he didn't get an answer to that question from the new employee because the doll didn't have a name of its own. It had been a long time since she had forgotten her human name. Well, after a short conversation, the guy decided to suggest that the doll go to the young Mr. Julian. Talking about awakening in the presence of young master is forbidden. Since the next stage hasn't happened for 200 years, he hasn't been able to become an adult that way. About awakening, if you don't know about it, all demons go through awakening 3 times. Decided to tell the assistant. As it turns out, the first awakening happens in infancy. That's how one becomes a child. The second awakening leads to adulthood. And the third awakening improves physical abilities. Usually all the stages happen in 100 years, but with strong demons, it can take longer. Then he'll really be able to kill me, the girl thought and couldn't hold back her smile. However, this reaction did not please the old employee very much. There's nothing to smile about here. Since you will be the personal butler, you need to memorize the names of the head servant and the head maid. The brother and sister are Leonardo and Lexi, narrated the guy. Aside from that, the girl will have to supervise those 2 as well. You may address him as young master. Before the second awakening, his mental age is 5 years old, so be careful. He warned. The employee also said that the boy has a nanny, so the doll would only need to stay close by and not babysit him. After a couple hours, it was time to be introduced directly to the young gentleman. Young master, this is the new butler, introduced Leon to the little guy. Take care of me, young master, the girl then said and bowed. Since the assistant had a lot of work to do, he decided to leave the girl alone with the baby. It was quite a sudden decision for her. So what now? I used to deal with a baby once, so I understand a little. It's enough to keep him from crying, decided the girl. The second she did, she noticed a small leaf that had accidentally fallen on Julian's hair. But as soon as the employee tried to shake that leaf off the guy's head, he immediately decided to bite her. What? Is it a demon or a dog? The girl was surprised. In a moment, he also tried to say something to his new aunt, but it was in vain as Julian himself clutched the fabric of the doll's jacket with anger. I can't understand what you're saying while your mouth is busy. Say it again. Now I can understand, said the girl, after ripping the baby off her sleeve. I told you not to touch me. You touched my hair. Let go now, ordered the harmful boy. Even though the girl was aware of the fact that he had bitten her before she touched her, she still decided to let the child go down unchallenged. He fell from a small height, making him even more angry. You could have been gentler! The child began to shout. Julian, because of his childish nastiness, started to get angry so sweetly that the girl not arbitrarily touched his cheeks. I told you not to touch me! Already the boy was seriously angry. This behavior of a difficult child was even starting to annoy the girl. You. What are you? Why aren't you dead? The youngster was also surprised when he used his demonic power in front of the palace's new female employee. But the girl herself decided not to lurk long about her origins, so she honestly confessed to him about being a doll. "Okay, I've been told how to calm an angry, hurt child. Good boy, good boy." The girl thought and decided to give the guy a big hug. Well, since he was a demon, the doll thought about the fact that in this case it was better to call him the opposite of bad. Bad. Our Julian is a very bad boy. Can our young master calm down? The gardener will cry. The girl kept saying to calm the child, but Juliana herself was telling her that their gardener would not cry. He will hide for that in a corner where no one can see. All adults do that. Told the protagonist of the story while calming the boy. At the same time, the girl also touched his cheeks. "He might rip my head off if I continue, but his cheeks are so worth touching, it's worth it." The doll thought at this time, yet the boy reminded her again of the fact that he had asked her not to touch him. And though the girl justified herself by saying she had a bad memory, it didn't work on the little demon. "I ripped your head off. How can you forget something like that?" the boy asked with slight exasperation. At the same moment, the girl heard an unfamiliar female voice. Some woman came up behind her. "You! Who are you? How dare you raise your head in front of the master?" The maid decided to ask. From the woman's attire, it was clear that she was the very same maid. As it turned out, Leah hadn't heard yet that the boy had a new senior assistant. "Who sent you here? Are you going to kill young master?" Just then, the woman began to worry aloud. "The nanny's position is high enough to inform in advance of the butler's appointment. We need to get along with her." In a second, the girl decided. However, it was the nanny who immediately shouted to the guards to take the doll out of the palace. "By the way, I was told to establish discipline in the castle. Did that concern them or not?" pondered the girl. At that, the doll still decided to use her power for the sake of stopping the guards that the nanny had turned against her. At the same second, the very assistant who had familiarized the doll with the job appeared on the horizon. Leon was clearly not thrilled with what was happening. "What's going on here? Enough of this! Stop it! Butler, and you stop! These are the knights! Butlers control the people who work inside the castle!" ordered the guy. At that moment, Leah actually realized that the doll was really the new butler. "Yes, that's right. As of today, it's Julian's butler," confirmed Leon. After all the confusion, the doll had picked up on the fact that the knights in their castle were rather weak. But Leon explained to the girl that she is simply too strong. Such a one, after all, would be enough to destroy a small country in Middle-earth. "I pray you, don't bother with these monsters of yours. Knights are valuable resources. I need to notify everyone about the new butler as soon as possible so that something like this doesn't happen again. I'll bid you adieu." Before leaving, the head servant said. As soon as it was over, the little boy turned his attention to the strength of his butler. Julian tried to touch the blue light of the doll with his hand. The girl even decided to help him to try it. That power was quite cold, after all. It was Tok's flame. At that moment, the doll even noticed that she was finally able to find common ground with this child. The girl even considered stroking the kid's head, but Leah forbade her to do so, grabbing the doll's hand. "Let's go back to the castle, young Master Julian. It's time for an afternoon nap," the maid suggested. Just then, unexpectedly, Julian ordered the maid to let go of the butler's hand. The doll was delighted at this request of the boy, and again decided to touch his cheeks with emotion. But it was not to be. The boy still did not want to feel any touch on his body. So in a second, he was literally about to burn his butler's hands. Julian was so angry that he threw part of the girl's hand away in the opposite direction. This kid was quite temperamental. A week passed. Since that day, the girl had been by Julian's side all the time. She had even managed to reduce the frequency of the kid's aggression attacks from 5 times a day to 1 or 2. "Didn't I tell you that you shouldn't get angry while eating?" Do you even know how many times this wall has been repaired?" You once again asked his assistant. That same day, the boy decided to inquire about the girl's name. But when the doll informed him that she didn't have a name, the boy thought she was lying to him again. "If you keep lying, I'll kill you for sure," threatened the kid, while the girl still tried to convey to him that she wasn't even given a name by Henry, and that the Demon King wasn't her parent. "I don't have a daddy or a mommy. I did once, a long, long time ago, and then they sold me as a sacrifice," told the girl. "Then can I do it? It's awkward to call you without a name. Your eyes look like Peridot, so can I call you Perry?" Unexpectedly, the young gentleman asked sweetly. "Peridot is a gemstone, light green, similar to your eyes," told the boy, and then the girl confessed to him that she had not yet seen herself in the mirror. Without thinking long, the boy took the butler by the hand to fulfill his mission. "He doesn't like being touched, does he?" the girl remarked in surprise. Julian grabbed her hand himself, and in doing so, he himself became nervous, but continued to lead the girl to his room in this way. After which, he pulled out a bracelet from his jewelry box. "Go to the mirror and look. They are the same," pointed the boy. Wavy silver hair, porcelain skin, green eyes that glittered in the light. So similar that one even gets thoughts as if the mages were inspired by the Peridot when they created them. The doll's appearance was indeed beautiful, though the girl herself didn't even understand why they had to try so hard on the appearance if they were just trying to make a doll. After Perry examined her reflection in the mirror, she was about to give the bracelet to the boy, but he refused to take it back. "You can keep it. It's expensive, if anything. They give it to you. Take it. You can give it to someone else if you don't like it," Julian pointed out. "Use your words, young master. Cleaning up the consequences of your aggression is very troublesome," Perry then informed in response. "Will you listen if I just speak? Then why don't you listen when I tell you not to touch me?" thought to ask Perry. But the girl only reasoned that it was because the young gentleman was very nice. "You're so cute that it makes one want to always be there to protect you. No matter what young master does, I won't die," told the palace assistant. "Then Perry will always be there for you?" asked the boy, to which he received an affirmative answer. But the doll himself knew that everything would change when he became the Demon King. In addition, the boy did state that if Perry lied to him, he would kill her. Doll at that moment was truly amazed at his sanity. "Oh? Himself giving me away to die? If I disappear after he becomes king, he'll come to kill me, won't he?" The girl thought at that moment, and without showing any sign of it, she smiled sweetly in return, though at the same time the guy himself was unwilling to take his behavior and temper childishly. "Do you take me for a child?" resented the young lad. Hours later, Perry met Leah outside the young master's room. "Young master is still sleeping. The Demon King's breakfast is ready," said the woman to explain the reason for her presence at that moment outside Julian's room. Right after that, Perry decided to go personally to wake up the boy. Julian had not slept well that day, so it was not easy for the boy to get up either. In order to wake Julian up, Leah brought him a bucket of water to wash his face. Without wasting a moment, Perry immediately took the matter into her own hands and began to personally wipe the boy's face with water. Perry was sure she had washed him well, but he continued to scream. This little thing could pass out from the high pressure. "Raise your voice no more than 3 times a day." Then the doll decided to put forward her conditions. Perhaps she was just worried. "It's time for breakfast. We need to get ready soon." It was then, though, that the babysitter distracted them. Julian decided to change his clothes, but he was also slow to button up the buttons on his shirt. "Young master, at this rate you'll be late." "Just a second," said the girl, and walked closer to the boy to help him change his clothes. But Julian did not like such help at all. He immediately started to show his aggressive outburst and cut off the butler's hands. "Hurry up and pass the wake-up. so you don't have to go through such an activity." The girl then said in a calm tone. Perry also decided to promise him that after waking up, Julian would handle everything by himself. Immediately afterward, a strange reaction came from the boy's nanny. "Who would have thought this day would come? I am simply delighted for the young master to open his heart to someone. I'm already the 7th nanny. Thank God we have such a butler." In tears, Leah threw herself into Perry's arms in joy, but the boy himself immediately began to make excuses. "I didn't open anything, and you get away from her. I just don't like it when demons touch others first and then me," Julian declared. It didn't even matter to him that the butler in his house was not even a demon, but just a doll. And yet, that same afternoon, Julian tried various methods of embodying his power in order to kill Perry, though he did it purely out of curiosity, not really wanting to harm the girl. "Just trust me, young master. I can't die. And stop ruining your clothes," asked the protagonist at that moment. Julian hadn't rejected her touch lately, but he kept attacking when he had the chance. And every time she didn't die, he said it was strange. A doll really can't die? Still also couldn't believe it. Julian couldn't believe it. "It's originally my duties. I'm sorry. Thank goodness we have you. And young master, you are dazzling." His nanny praised him, looking at Perry brushing the boy's hair. Leah went on to say that she could breathe a sigh of relief with the butler's appearance, and in a burst of happiness, she even took her colleague's hands. But right after that, the boy immediately ordered the nanny to let go of Perry's hands. After that, they went for a walk together. Without thinking long, Perry decided to take the naughty boy the way she had done before. Since Julian did not want to be thrown off the high ground again, he only accepted his fate. However, Nanny still didn't like Perry's behavior. "Butler, you can't carry young master like that. Carry him like this, hugging him," Leah decided to advise. At that moment, the woman even demonstratively showed by example how to properly carry the young master. After that, Perry actually put Julian in her arms in a different way. In fact, this way was uncomfortable for the girl, as one hand used to be free, but now she had to hold on with both hands. "Uncomfortable!" The protagonist spoke up. "It can't be helped. You can't strut around with a young master like that in front of his friends," Leah quipped in response. But what surprised Perry more was that this boy still had friends who weren't even corpses. Though really, the boy admitted that he didn't like those friends. "Here, look. Do you like them? Have fun spending time with them? Helping each other out? Then they're not friends." The butler decided to explain with a more understandable example. "But I was helping them, so they started calling me friend," Julian then prompted. After that, Perry decided to honestly tell the boy that such a term was called useful idiot. However, the older nannies did not like these remarks. "How can you say such vulgar words to a young master?" The woman didn't understand. Julian was interested in this word, so he personally decided to ask the butler what it meant. "A fool who gives everything to others but gets nothing in return," the girl explained. Julian then began to shout by example that he was not a fool. The nanny immediately picked up on this thought. "Ah, of course. Our young master is very intelligent. Nanny has never seen a demon smarter than you," praised the woman, so as not to offend the boy. But Perry was unwilling to listen to these lies from Leah. "Nanny, you lie. You'll grow a horn," the girl said jokingly to calm the maid down. After the walk, they all went to lunch together. Even there, Leah was forever interfering with the boy's proper upbringing. She argued that Juliana should not eat with her hands, although Perry absolutely calmly allowed the boy to do so. In a moment while the young gentleman was enjoying his favorite food, Perry decided to discreetly slip him his unloved broccoli. "Do you want to die? I'm not eating broccoli!" Immediately, the toddler started to get cranky, but the butler was thoughtful, though, so she calmly responded to his caprice. "Young master, do you want to become an idiot? Your health and mind will deteriorate greatly if you refuse to eat everything, explained Perry. The girl also revealed that the brain also feels bad when the guy himself feels bad. After this clever maneuver, the nanny intervened in their conversation. That's right, young master. It can't be helped. Young master threw the broccoli on the floor and took the path of stupidity. And what are we going to do when he becomes an idiot? The woman began to play along. Get the broccoli, quick! But a little, just a little. Without thinking long, ordered the waiter to the little boy. Still, the butler's contrived provocation worked. In just a couple of minutes, the boy had already emptied his plate of unpalatable vegetables. Congratulations! Today you have become a clever young gentleman. Tomorrow you'll be one too if you eat everything instead of selectively. Perry praised him. Even though Julian already thought he was pretty smart, the girl explained to him that he wasn't. After all, it wasn't long ago that he was calling demons friends who weren't. But it's getting better now. If you eat right, you'll be the smartest, the girl declared, and then Julian decided that tomorrow he would also eat well. At the same second, the little boy remembered about one letter. A couple of minutes later, the nanny, along with the butler, were standing in the young master's study while he was writing something on a piece of paper. At that moment, the doll was actually surprised that she could read the letter, even though she had never learned to do so. For some reason, communicating came easily to her, as did reading the piss letter. When she was a human, the concept of letters wasn't there yet. Perhaps some kind of magic had been placed on the doll's body. Well, it's also even easier. If you summarize everything Julian wrote, it's something like, I'll kill you. Nothing new, though. What was it called, Perry, you know? When the arms are separate, the legs are separate. The boy suddenly decided to ask the butler. But after a second, the boy himself remembered that he meant severed limbs. I don't know why he would do something like that, but his vocabulary is good, noted the protagonist. After the boy finished what he wanted to write, he handed the letter to the butler. I'll cut off and throw your fingers to the monsters. It was read aloud by the nanny, who had discreetly crept up behind the letter. Of course, the woman did not approve of such rude remarks from an ill-mannered boy, so she tried to snatch the letter from Perry's hands. Geez, master, you can't do that. I'm your nanny, so I can't allow such words to be used. Leo-san especially can't be shown such letters. You don't write such things to your friends. The woman started shouting and indignant. He's not my friend. He's the one who treated me like a fool. After a moment, the young gentleman explained. Even then, everything fell into place in the palace's mind. So that's it. A fake friend he had no interest in spending time with, and who didn't put him up to anything. Realized the girl. After that, she decided to point out to the boy all of his mistakes. Julian made a little mistake in spelling, and Perry also noticed that the content of his letter was too monotonous. The girl even advised to intimidate more colorful and detailed. Well, once Perry started explaining in detail how to bully other people better, the babysitter just lost her temper about anger. Butler Perry, you can't do this. You're supposed to stop the gentleman's youth, not prompt. The woman opined. Well, it so happened that no one wanted to listen to Leah's opinion anymore, so the guy decided to continue his lesson in boorishness with the butler. If you use idioms too literally, they won't be effective. Show some imagination. It's gotten shorter that way, but more vivid in content, that'll do, advised Perry. Once they had corrected all the errors, to the dismay of Nanny, the butler, along with the boy, actually sent the letter. Butler Perry, young Mr. Leo is the Duke's son. We should have stopped our master. Leah spoke up, but Perry felt that one shouldn't avoid a fight if it was asking for it. But no one asked for it, did they? No, it's our young master who's provoking a conflict right now. What if he kills our master? He hasn't even gone through awakening. Nanny continued to insist. Such remarks were already so annoying to Julian himself that he almost started to get angry. Of course, The woman didn't want to die at the hands of a little demon, so she immediately decided to stop saying everything she was really thinking about. That was when the butler decided to find out about that young Master Leo's awakening. As it turned out, the guy had fully awakened 100 years ago and was now considered fully grown up. That said, Julian still believed that he was the strongest. "Let's just kill him. Are you worried about the Duke's son killing our master?" decided Perry suggested to the nanny. "That's true, but you don't seem to understand the structure of the demon world well. I'll explain. Our master is the son of the Demon King. Do you know why we don't call him Prince?" Nanny started the conversation. It turns out that unlike the human world, the seat of the Demon King is not hereditary. If at some point a stronger demon appears and kills the current king, he will take the throne. Therefore, the young lord who has yet to awaken has become the target of many high-ranking demons. The fact that he hasn't awakened for so long means that there is a really huge power budding within him. Everyone wants to get rid of him while the guy is weak. Naturally, the Demon King is protecting the young master, and he even assigned such a strong butler to him. But now the Duke might try to attack. We can still catch up with the letter and retrieve it, Nanny explained. "Young master, I will always be there for you now. Only the weak close their eyes when they are taken for fools. But young master is strong, so kill him. I will deal with all the surprises. Of course, if you'll let me. You will allow it, won't you?" Decided to ask the girl who walked closer to the little guy. In fact, protecting Julian was originally her job, but he doesn't like being touched by other demons. Therefore, the 5-year-old is forced to wash, eat, and sleep alone. Julian that doesn't hesitate to admit how strong his assistant is. She even stopped taking her usual guards with her. It can be difficult for him to bear the fact that someone is protecting him. That's why the protagonist of this story specifically asked for permission, for the sake of the child that is strong and weak at the same time. "I'm very strong, and I can tear even Leo apart, but I'll let you help me so I don't look stupid," still managed to say the young gentleman. "Only Perry, I'm not that weak," also added the lad just in case. At this time, Carl was sitting in his office, holding an envelope in his hands. "I decided to check out the letter my son wrote, because it's been a while since I've had one like this. Who would have thought that it seems to be laced with threats? His vocabulary is well enriched," noted the father. "I heard he had Perry's help. Didn't realize a doll could know so much," said the helper. "Send it as is," suddenly the Demon King ordered. "It might give the Duke an excuse to act," decided to make his point. "A little child fighting might help him get stronger," explained the father. "Which country of humans is moderately dangerous? The kingdom of Sod. They are said to have bred demon counter skills. They have strong troops, and their borders are in contact with the demon world," the chief assistant told. Well, father thought it was even great news. "Tell me to start a war with them," ordered the man, but then his aide explained that the troops would not move out without a reason. However, now Carl felt that it should then be made that kingdom to start the war first. Since they're doing well against us, they might have some poison that's destructive to demons. Get it, and all trails will lead to the Sod Kingdom, the warden pointed out. "It's enough to spread it in the land of the Hertz. You need to wipe out about 1/3 of the population," explained Carl. "If the Duke can successfully conquer the kingdom, it will further unleash it." Leon then decided to add. But the man realized that in this case, neither of them should win. After all, he could do far more, anything to protect his son. Meanwhile, the butler decided to interest the lad by playing with him the games that children love at that age. The nanny was careful to lean on the occasion when the young gentleman could play with someone. But as soon as Perry recognized this wish list of the nanny's, she immediately thought of throwing it away. What kind of wish list? I'm just insanely curious as to what the expression of the amused young master will be. The woman immediately excused herself. "Anyway, I can't keep up with him, so do it for me," Leah added. After that, the doll decided to use her power. The first item on the list was a game where she had to take the baby in her arms and spin around with it a bit. But because Perry overdid it, the young gentleman even started to feel a little nauseous at that moment. "Geez, Butler Perry, what are you doing?" shouted the nanny with horror. Perry then turned her attention to the above and beyond game that was also written on the list. "Pick up the baby and toss it up and then catch it. I've done that before when I woke Julian up." Doll remembered. But after she tried playing this game, she didn't succeed either. The girl tossed the young lad too high. "Young master isn't a ball to throw it like that. If I were young master, I would have already burst into tears. Let's play catch-up, shall we? Young master, if you say yes, I'll give you a chocolate chip cookie." The nanny decided to offer an alternative option. "Chocolate? Perry enters. Let's get ready, here we go!" said the boy before setting up to sprint for the game. It was only a few seconds later that Perry caught up to Julian. She also did the wrong thing, as she should have adjusted to the speed of the Lord. To start catching the child at once was also wrong. The boy's mood had gotten so bad that day that he didn't even want to play any of the games now. "I won't play anything, it's boring. Perry can't do anything. I don't want to. Hide and seek is a weird choice," continued the little boy angrily. "No, I'll explain everything beforehand. It'll be fun. Right, Butler, close your eyes and count to 50. The manor is quite large, so we'll limit ourselves to just the garden." Nanny Leah decided to save the situation. After one round of the rock, paper, scissors game, it turned out that the young master was entering, while the nanny and butler were hiding. As soon as the little one closed his eyes, then Perry immediately started picking out a good spot. In fact, there weren't many places to hide in the garden. But that's when the girl noticed a large bush near her. Almost immediately after the young master started looking for the girls, he noticed his nanny. "Goodness, you found me so quickly. How did you do it? I hid so well, didn't I?" Just then, the woman praised him. Now, all that was left to find was Perry. Leah even decided to help the boy with his search. Only after a few minutes, the boy finally found his butler in one of the bushes. The nanny, who was also helping the young boy search for the missing man, was greatly frightened when Perry jumped out of the bushes abruptly. The woman was so frightened that she even fainted. The babysitter scolded Perry severely when she woke up. She also brought a huge amount of books on parenting and other things. Leah argued that Perry needed to learn more about demons. The girl also decided to share it with the child. "Perry, are you being punished?" inquired the boy. "Looks like it. Don't mind the books, just go to sleep," asked Perry. Afterward, however, the boy admitted to her that he was having a hard time sleeping. Then a good idea came into the doll's head to sing him a bedtime lullaby. The melody the girl decided to just make up, but as soon as she was about to sing, the boy immediately stopped her. "Like, wait, I think I'm sleepy already," he said, and turned away. After a while, the girl heard Julian's steady breathing, fire talk flying around and catching insects. A light breeze blows through the open window. For the first time in a long time, there was a peaceful atmosphere in the castle. So the girl decided to read the books on parenting that the nanny had given her. At some point, the baby did wake up. Although it was still night, the guy didn't want to sleep anymore. Therefore, he still agreed to have the butler read a book to him. Thus the young lord chose The Adventures of a Princess and a Knight that starts every night. The title is intriguing. Does the princess know how to handle a sword? The protagonist wondered, but still started reading the book to the boy. It was a story about a beautiful princess who is being bullied, and a knight who loves her. Doll thought it was just an ordinary fairy tale. It wasn't until 10 pages in that she began to realize that there was something wrong with the book. At night, the knight entered the room where the princess slept, when the knight's lips touched the princess's forehead. By chance, the girl read aloud and was finally convinced that this book was not for children. The adventure turned out to be for adults. "Sleep. This book is not for children." Immediately, the girl put the child down. And even the boy's pleas to get the butler to read the book didn't work. But the doll promised to read Julian the tale when he stood taller than her. I will only get taller after I wake up. In a sad tone, the boy replied, whereupon, after a few minutes, the child did fall asleep. After the boy went to sleep, Perry immediately decided to find Nanny to talk about this book. "Nanny, what is this? Why did you give me this incredible book?" asked Perry. "Have you read it? Such a sensual novel, don't you think? Especially the description part. If you want to know demons, it's good to know that too. Especially this is a best-selling novel in the demonic world. This one and this novel are written by the same author. Very good." Leah began to advise, and just then, a boy intervened in their conversation. "Oh, the book Perry read to me yesterday, but she said it wasn't for children. Started reading it and suddenly stopped. I wonder what kind of adventures they have there every night," he remarked. After that, of course, Leah was extremely indignant. "There's a need for sleep every night. Young master, there are no adventures at night," Nanny immediately said. When Leah left the young master's room, it was time for the boy to get up from under the bed. However, he was not quite willing to do so. So the butler decided to use her power and magic to pull the boy out of the bed into her arms. Next, they began to pack up together. "Perry, what do I have to do to become an adult?" The boy decided to ask, but the doll didn't even know the answer to that question. As a human, she had died almost as a child. In the spiritual world, age doesn't count. And as a doll, she only lived for a few months. So it wasn't surprising that the butler didn't know the best thing to do for the boy. "I'm not an adult, young master. I'm only 2 months old," the girl admitted. After all, she's even younger than the young master if you counted it that way. "Then why are you an adult? You said the book was for adults only. Only I'm not grown up. I want to be an adult too," said the boy. At that, the doll realized that he would hardly be able to say anything if the boy woke up and realized what book she hadn't read to him. "I won't read it, even if you become an adult. It would be very embarrassing for you," the girl explained. Then I'm embarrassed now too. All my friends are all grown up now. They're embarrassed of me, so they don't come to play anymore." Unexpectedly at that moment, Julian confessed. It was clear that it was about that Duke's son, Ralph. "Young master, you don't need to be ashamed of being a child. They're just not real friends." The girl tried to calm him down. After the doll explained who real friends were, the boy realized that he didn't have any. He even began to see himself as a loser. However, the girl proved to him that he is not a loser, as he recently wrote a challenge letter. "But friends don't come from that," the guy stated. "You need to become a little kinder. Kind demons don't just kill anyone," said the doll. Well then, Julian remembered Leo, who has friends even though he is not kind. "Then he has a good side," assumed the doll. The girl thought that Julian also had a good side, and that was that he was nice. "Sometimes, no, quite often he takes it out on me. But what's the big deal? The young lord is very sweet, and this demon is going to send me back to the spirit world. I like him for that too, but I'd rather not say anything," the protagonist thought at that moment. The next day, the young gentleman stayed for a while with his nanny. Perry was called by Henry the butler, so today Leah would entertain the little one. "You don't need to entertain me. I won't repeat myself." In response to which the boy rudely replied, "With Perry's appearance, he has become more in line with his age, but originally the young lord was like this. Silent almost all the time, exploding with rage if anyone touched him. It was then that the boy decided to ask Nanny if he was cute. "Of course, young master. You are very strong and cute," Leah agreed. "Perry is a strange one. The first time we met, we didn't even talk much, and I ripped her head off, screamed, spewed anger, tore my arms and legs off. But she acted completely calm, like it was a minor annoyance. All because she's a doll? Tell me everything you know about Perry." Suddenly, the boy demanded. Of course, Nanny was surprised at such an order from him. "What? A mere nanny can't know much about a butler. Leah objected. However, the boy pointed out aloud that he was aware that the girl reported to Henry. "Speak," demanded the young gentleman, and already forcefully began to threaten the nanny. Let go first, and I'll tell. I'll say everything. Butler Perry, she is a doll made by human magicians. I don't know what the reason is, but she's different. And she came here after making some sort of pact with the Demon King." Leah began to confess. After saying that, the boy did let the babysitter go to the floor. "I don't know when she'll leave me." Perry makes a strange expression on his face from time to time, so blank, like it's ready to disappear at any moment. The pact with Carl. If I help her instead of him, will she stay with me? But I don't know what Perry wants. She says I'm nice. It's better to be what she wants. If I have to be nice, I'll be nice. Or kind. The boy decided for himself. "Nanny, don't tell her about today," Julian also asked. He decided that if the girl said to become kinder, he would start there. "Why did you have to summon the busy me? Everyone would have asked the babysitter. It's not like I'm a mongrel being trained. Young master, I'm coming in," informed the butler before entering Julian's room. But then the friendly boy himself greeted the girl. He even smiled at Perry, which was strange for him. "Looks like he's sick with something. He doesn't usually act like this." Even thought the girl at that moment. Without thinking long, Perry carried the young master in her arms to the office of the head servant. "We are in trouble. Young master is sick," said the girl to Leon. "It can't be! Master! Master! No, I will call him myself. Wait a little bit." Immediately Leon decided as soon as he saw the smile on the angry boy's face. But no sooner had Leon left the room than an obscure silhouette jumped out of the window. When Carl and Leon entered the chief servant's office together, they saw the puppet massacring a multitude of dark knights. "Have you forgotten how to use your mouth? Aren't you going to talk?" The girl continued to threaten. That's when Carl noticed that the assassins who snuck into his castle were still quite green. In that split second, the man pulled poison out of the mouth of one such mercenary. From that, they would no longer be able to recognize who was completely standing. "Put the survivors in the dungeon! Get rid of the dead!" ordered the king. "Can this be entrusted to the servants?" The girl decided to ask then. "The castle servants are as strong as the knights, but they are no match for you," Leon explained. After all that happened, the young lord approached the doll with a request for the girl to hug him. "I'm dirty, aren't I? Holding one of these. I might have poison on me." The girl explained just in case. "I'm not going to die from something like that, so give me a hug." Still, the boy said and jumped into her arms. "I was afraid Perry might die." Julian confessed then. "Raising a son doesn't work somehow. I think it's sadness for his mother. Maybe we should get a male butler." Carl and Leon began to talk amongst themselves. Julian, however, declared that Perry was not his mother. "Perry is mine!" the boy also shouted menacingly. "Right? Perry is mine, right?" Still, he decided to check with the doll itself, but the girl explained to him that she belonged to herself. "I may not be Mistress Perry, but I certainly belong to you, young master. How about it?" Leon decided to ask. But the boy only stated that he didn't want to see anyone but his Perry. "Just tell me what belongs to the young master," Leon asked the doll then. The girl thought about how it wasn't her responsibility, so she wasn't going to say such a thing. "Who am I to say such a thing? Let him live 100 years, but he's still a child. How do you say such a thing to someone you're going to die from?" pondered the girl. "Your butler already belongs to you, so stop sulking already, Julian." After a few seconds, the father asked, "Hey, why do you get to decide who I belong to?" The boy thought at that moment. However, his butler at the same time only thought that she needed to tell him that she didn't belong to him so that there wouldn't be any problems in the future. But the girl never got the chance to say it before the boy made his own point. "Perry is mine, so don't die for anything. Got it?" Julian asked. The girl decided not to remove the boy's doubts, so she remained silent that night. A little later, Perry, along with Leon, went to interrogate the assassins the girl had neutralized earlier. "That's your job, too, because they tried to kill the young master," explained the head servant. "Any way you look at it, they clearly came for Julian, because not many people know much about me. They tried to kill me so as not to leave any witnesses." The surprised look on the face of one of them was amusing. "Even I don't know how I'm going to die, much less them," reasoned the protagonist. "You'd be better off covering your nose," the boy advised. There was the smell of rusty iron and blood. The odor of rotting flesh beat against his nostrils. "The doll's body doesn't seem to make me care about that sort of thing," Perry realized. "A few weren't even touched. The others aren't dead, but it's hard to call them alive. Here they are. Got to know they came specifically for the young master, but not who they were working for. Do you know how to torture?" asked Leon. But the girl didn't know how to do it, didn't even have a clue, but still thought to try. So the butler summoned her powers. "Leon, do you believe in the existence of a soul? Whether it's a human or a demon, a bird or a tree. All living things have a soul. Originally, the soul naturally separates from the body after death. The same goes for the talk lights that I summon and materialize. These are souls too. Now the question, what happens to beings who die with a sense of resentment?" asked the girl. This sight was really hard to look at. All these bodies were begging for mercy from the doll, asking for salvation, even though they are also the souls of those who died at their hands. "They didn't look like this when they were alive. You won't be able to die today. I will make you pay for attacking Julian," decided the protagonist of this story. The next morning, Julian decided to ask his butler where she had been during the night. The girl confessed that she went to the dungeon to punish the bad guys. "Geez, butler, did you go to kill someone?" Nanny asked at the same time, but Perry answered her question in the negative. However, Leah could smell a strong odor of blood. "Can you wash up on your own and go to breakfast? I'll change and join you," decided to inform the butler, but the boy didn't want to do that. "I don't want to! I'll wait!" declared Julian. Knowing this boy's temperament, the doll thought he would probably wait. Besides, they hadn't been apart even for an hour lately. It had been a long time since the girl had had a moment of solitude. Doll even began to notice how much she had grown accustomed to the guy. At the same time, the girl thought about the fact that it was impossible to get close to Julian. She will go to the spirit world when he grows up. At that same time, the girl unexpectedly met a strange guy. "Hello, butler. We finally met." He was the first to say hello, but the girl didn't recognize him. "You don't know me? I do know you, though. May I address you by your first name?" he asked then, squeezing the butler's hand tightly. After he did that, the girl broke free from his grip and even considered using force to stop him from touching her. "This is the Demon King's palace. You can't use force so carelessly," she explained. "You feel absolutely nothing? A rapid heartbeat, anything like that?" asked the blonde. Just then another stranger appeared on the horizon. "Maybe you like girls? If that's you, then I can please in any way I can," said the obscure lady. "And who the hell are these? Maybe knock them out, though they could be aristocrats. Then trouble will start." Already really didn't know what she should do, the protagonist of this story. "I like you. May I call you by your first name?" the girl asked at the same time. The doll decided that she had to deal with these strangers first, and then she would think later. Just then, the girl took the two by force. But at the same moment, an older servant appeared in the room. "Perry, what are you doing? Let them go and then we'll talk. I've gotten a confession. All three of them are saying the same thing," shared Leon. "The head servant and maid I mentioned earlier, Leonardo and Lexi," introduced the boys to the assistant. "This is the first time I've seen them. They didn't work at all?" Doll asked, surprised. As it turned out, their main occupation was dealing with those who invaded the castle. "I'm good at my job, but some demonic beast stole everyone before me," said Leonardo. "Perry the butler is so beautiful. Getting sick of eating people every day. Was going to try some special food," said the brother and sister jokingly. That's when the girl also brought up the demonic Duke Zer in a letter. If it's about Leo, the young master once wrote a threatening letter. The girl remembered. Leo is Duke Zer's only son, the aide remarked. One would have thought that this duke was targeting the young master then, but Leon knew that he didn't have time for that now because the residents of his territory were dying. Everything turned out like this because of that letter? That's strange. It's more like the duke was trying to scare the young master because he can't kill. So cowardly, thought the doll about Leo. You don't have the courage to challenge directly. Is that why you do such beautiful deeds? Hiring assassins to stab Julian in the back? How strong are these two? Capable of defeating Duke Leo? How much longer do we have to stand here? The girl asked then. Although Leon didn't know if they would win, but these two are quite strong. You will be in charge of guarding the young master from now on. May I, butler? The doll decided to ask. Leon didn't care anyway, but as long as the doll was around, there was no need for them. After this situation, Perry brought her brother's sister to the young master. Now, they will all walk together. We'll be inconspicuous, only following you. Right. We'll hide in your shadows, said Lexi or Leonardo so as not to anger the little boy too much. However, the boy still reacted to them rather sharply. Still, the girl decided not to emphasize it all, so she suggested to start eating breakfast. I understand you're hungry, but how about we write one letter before we eat? Decided Perry asked. Those assassins, as it turns out, were sent by Duke Leo. You don't want to miss a blow from him, young master, do you? Then you must strike first, explained his butler. In a matter of minutes, the lad had already written everything and decided to hand the letter to his butler for verification. Is it possible to send such a thing? Everyone is trying so hard to cover up that young master was attacked, and we didn't write anything about him being attacked, the girl remarked. Something bad happened, so the young master is pining for an old friend? Quoted the words from the boy's letter to Leonardo. It was obvious that he would guess everything at once, and it would have been strange if he hadn't. That's why they wrote the letter. Demons go through 3 awakenings. All demon children must go through the first awakening to release demonic energy. After the second awakening, magic can be used, and the third makes the body complete. On average, it takes aristocrats 100 years to go through all the stages. But the stronger the demon, the faster the demonic energy manifests. Because of this, the awakening can be delayed. Here in the demon world, where status is determined by power, there is nothing more dangerous than this. The reasons why Juliana is still fine is most likely because Carl's abilities are great, realized the protagonist. At that same time, the girl asked Leonardo to send a letter for Leo now. But Julian's threatening letter is just an excuse. Besides, the nanny, no matter how much she didn't want to, had to stay here. Perry also asked Nanny about reporting everything to Leon after they left. The king can try to protect Julian all he wants. The Duke will still wait for the right moment, and then they will prevent it. It must be made clear to the Duke that even without Charles's protection, an attack on Julian would end in his death. Young master, promise me something. Don't use magical energy unless I ask you to, even if it seems like we're on the verge of death. You have me. You trust me, don't you, young master? Said the girl, to which she received an affirmative reply. After that, they all set off on their journey together. After a while, they finally arrived. As soon as Perry met Leonardo, she immediately handed him a gift for Leo. Lexi, hide in the young master's shadow. Let's go. Also ordered the butler. A couple of minutes later, they all arrived at the room with Leo-san. I was warned of your arrival. I wonder why you visited me. Are you still a child? Who's next to you, the nanny? What's the count? Such were the rough words with which the old friend greeted the young gentleman. Also killing everyone uncontrollably? Maybe you should stop taking your anger out on others? Leo continued to mock his longtime friend. Just in case. Perry reminded the young master at that moment not to get angry and fall for Leo's provocations right now. "I'm not the nanny, but the young master's butler." After which, the girl introduced herself. "Butler? A child who hasn't even gone through a second awakening? Hanging around with you? A mere burden? The Demon King cares for you so much. So you wrote that something bad happened." Leo-san decided to get to the point. He was attacked. The customer could not be found. So the young master came here to ask for help from an old friend. Decided to explain the girl. In response to which the guy laughed slightly. "Old friend? Who said that? Julian? I don't think that's possible after threatening to rip my limbs off. By the way, who's that?" Leo had already turned his attention to the servants near the boy. "It seems you were slightly offended by the previous letter, so we've prepared a gift, an item that's perishable, so we'd like you to check it soon." Then quickly asked the girl. But Leo still continued to act disgusted as well. "Tease, it's annoying. If I don't like it, you'll have to prepare something better," he said, already starting to open the box. But the doll knew that he would definitely like it. However, when Leo opened the box, he saw the incomprehensible contents in front of him. "This is part of the gifts you sent us the other day," Perry explained. It wasn't hard to guess that the box contained poison. "Alas, more than half have been used. It's unlikely you were counting on this much, but please accept it," she continued to say in a sarcastic tone. Immediately after that, Leo was seriously frightened and ordered his knights to capture all those people. But that's when Perry first asked the head servant to block the door. Everything was going according to plan. "Young master, you drink this, now. Kill as many as you like," then informed the butler. Earlier, the butler along with Leon had already prepared a special potion. This potion is a condensate of demonic energy and absorption power. It is used by higher demons to gather power, narrated the butler. It was then that the girl had the brilliant idea to take it to him. Now the little boy could completely possess the powers and souls of all the knights in the foreign castle. "Perry, we'll take him with us," also decided the boy after dealing with all the knights. Now they all headed home together. The only thing they regretted was that the Duke himself wasn't there. Then the young lord might have awakened. "We would have been wiped out before we could even blink an eye," Lexi expressed her opinion. At the same time, the butler turned his attention to Leo. "Well, the young master didn't hit him. I did a little bit," Lexi admitted. When they got back to their castle, Leon was just furious. "Are you out of your mind? Then what the hell were you thinking? Young master, are you all right?" worried the butler. "Get a doctor! Get a doctor!" continued the boy's panic, but the boy himself explained that he wasn't hurt. Julian explained that the blood on his cheek was not his own. It was then that Perry decided to thank Leon for the potion, which just came in handy. Leon clearly wasn't thrilled that the girl had taken the potion. "When did you manage to steal it? What the hell is this potion? If there are side effects instead of demonic power, there might only be absorption power left." The man continued to read his moralizing, but the butler was already well aware of all the consequences. "I know, but young master's demonic energy is very strong. There won't be any problems." Absolutely. Perry was certain. Yes, and the boy himself thought that there was no problem if he wasn't dangerous. "No, young master, you can't take and drink everything. What would you do if it turned out to be dangerous?" Leon continued to scold. However, the little master himself was completely calm about it. "If she gave it, it'll be fine," he calculated. "I used the stone to pressurize the demons on Leo, put him in the dungeon. What were you doing in the Duke's castle anyway?" inquired Leon. "That's something an aide should be versed in. I need to understand in order to prepare for the consequences," the butler also explained. It's not a big deal. It's just that the power of all the demons that were in the castle at the time was absorbed by the young master." Perry then calmly admitted to him. She didn't think there was anything wrong with it, as the children were just playing. But Leon himself didn't share her opinion about it being considered play. Okay, there's no time for that now. It's time to get on with adult business, the man decided. In a moment, the doll noticed that the young master was feeling strange. "Young master! Look at me!" asked the girl, but the little boy was already falling over from helplessness. "Butler Perry, grab for me!" Immediately, Leon ordered in a flash. The surroundings all lit up with the boy's strength, after which the butler brought the girl to a designated place. In addition to that, Leon ordered Perry to put the guy under the water. As it turned out, it was the Lake of Awakening. It was then that the protagonist of this story realized that the second stage had begun. It had been a week since Julian's awakening began. "You have no need to worry, Butler Perry. All demons go through this. I was in the lake too, only blue," tried to calm the butler's nanny. Demons with the power of absorption enter the blue lake. Those with the power of seduction enter the pink lake. And demons with the power of destruction enter the black lake. I remember it very clearly. My memories of that period are only good. Surely the same thing is happening in the black lake. Did I explain? I don't think she's wrong about Julian. He just went into the lake to awaken, like all demons. But for some reason, I'm thinking more and more about how many mistakes I've made towards him. Perry thought in the moment. It was then that the nanny called for the butler to eat. The girl saw meat pie, turkey meat, and broccoli ragout on the bedspread. Then a memory of her forcing the little Duke to eat his not-favorite vegetable popped into her mind. "Try it. No, Perry, you just try it. Why am I the only one who has to eat it?" resented the little demon. In the end, he did talk the girl into eating it after all. In fact, the vegetable really did feel like gross. That was when he remembered his butler's words and pointed out to the girl that if she didn't eat broccoli, she would become stupid. "Even after waking up, you'll have to eat broccoli. Eat some more. You're good. I'll have the pastry chef make your favorite dessert today." Still, Perry decided to praise him. However, instead of dessert, the boy suddenly asked to eat better together. "Main courses and desserts! Let's eat together!" Julian continued to insist on his idea. Julian, after coming out of the lake, would no longer be a child. That was what frightened Perry in a way. The girl was afraid that the young master would forget her. "Ah, of course he won't forget you. Memories are retained after awakening. Everyone goes through it," Leah continued to reassure her. It was then that the butler decided to see how much the boy would grow. "Well, if you look at his father, he's tall. If you measure by the age of adults, he's about 23 to 24 years old," narrated Leah. At that age, people were already considered adults, and at what point did they get mustaches? For a second, the girl even imagined Julian with a lush mustache. I suddenly remembered the day when Julian smiled brightly at me for the first time. If I'd known it was going to be like that, I would have called the painter anyway, no matter what Henry said. It was worth painting those little fingers. The memories will one day fade away, thought the protagonist, thought the were. After a while, Perry met with the head servant. Today, it was Leonardo's turn. "Wow, there's a whole library here. Did Lexi bring this? She always picks out books like this," noted the boy aloud. "By the way, Butler, did you hear? I've been banned from entering the underground prison." The man also decided to tell the story. "I was just pulling energy from Leo from time to time, and Henry made such a fuss," told Leonardo. However, the girl was surprised that he eats men's energy at all, since after all, he is a man himself. "What does that have to do with it? There are those who insist on this rule, but I don't care. Food is food. Butler, would you like to share your energy a little?" That was when Leonardo jokingly decided to ask. However, after a second, the man had already remarked aloud that Butler Perry was really only kind to the young master. Here we go again with the old thing. Young master is not dying. Relax, Butler. Everyone goes through an awakening. It's just that his strength is greater, so the process takes longer. Don't be so depressed. Leonardo continued to reassure her. But in fact, the protagonist of this story wasn't really depressed. She was feeling anxious. What if something goes wrong? What if she couldn't get out of the lake? Suddenly, he'll regret the time he spent with her? Or notice her faults? Maybe he wouldn't hug her anymore? The girl's worries were quite numerous. Perhaps the reason for all of this is because I was worried about the child who bared her fangs every time waking up was mentioned. This bitterness is caused by a love I realized too late. Perry realized. Quiet! Spears at the ready! The Demon King's son is now in the Lake of Awakening. We will only have one chance to get rid of him. At that moment, the evil knights continued to execute their plan. However, in just a second, fire appeared in the air. My name is Perry. What are you going to do to my master? A girl asked in a formidable tone. Huh! The noble young master of the Demon King's castle is being protected by a single servant. I can't even sense demonic energy from her. Attack that wench! The brave knight ordered. After all, he didn't know what was really waiting for him yet. The girl did not retreat, but instead boldly grabbed the knight by the neck. Who are you? I asked what you were going to do, young master. Started to threaten Perry. After she dealt with all the bad knights, then the one survivor was ordered to give all the information to his master. At this time, Ved's castle reported that a knight had returned from the Lake of Awakening. You couldn't deal with a defenseless child, and an unarmed girl killed everyone but you, yelled the superior at his subordinate. That was when he revealed that the butler had done this to them. There was only Leon in the Demon King's castle, but he uses magic and is constantly near the king. Since the rookie knight was spared and sent back, it's a warning, thought the lord. If it was the butler who was with Julian in the Duke's castle, where the bloodbath happened recently. It took a second for the man to realize. No need to send the knights out again. Need information on the butler. Age, where she came from, everything. Better to lure a strong demon to our side. Tell everything you know. Ordered the warden. It was a girl. Hair white or golden. Couldn't see well in the dark. Can't tell for sure. Her eyes were a light green. And her name was Perry. There were blue lights floating around her that changed their appearance. Knight began to narrate. The employee also admitted that he had yet to feel demonic energy as well. So she's not a demon? A mere human can't be stronger than a knight commander. Is it really a dragon? Demons and dragons have had a bad relationship since time immemorial. But if Carl, who loves his son very much, caved in and got a dragon on his side, then he's a crazy bastard, thought the man. Send out a meeting invitation to all the demon dukes. And like I said earlier, find out all about her, ordered the chief. Didn't demons and dragons sign an agreement not to invade each other's territory? If it ended up in our territory, it could help overthrow the Demon King. The man decided to think through his plan. The next day, Perry told the servant who was trying to get rid of the young lord. At that time, the girl also told him that that was why she killed everyone. The young master. Well, yes, in the lake, he won't be able to use his power. It seems like they were in a great hurry. After all, thanks to you, the young master started the awakening in the first place. Leonardo agreed. There is an unspoken rule that you can't touch him while he is in the awakening lake. The boy also revealed. Okay, that's understandable. Leon, tell Lexi and Leah not to come here. If a demon comes here, it will die immediately, informed the butler. This meant that the girl was really going to kill everyone. I'm surprised every time I see you. What kind of person are you? A black magician? Leonardo still didn't know until now. I'm a puppet. I don't know about black magic, but I was created by human mages, the girl confessed. If you were created by humans, in terms of aesthetics. But before Leonardo could even let Leonardo finish his sentence, the girl began to choke him threateningly. The girl absolutely did not like these jokes, so she was not going to be ceremonious. But then from the fight with Leonardo, Perry was distracted by a noise from the lake. Within seconds, Julian came out of his waking stage, still the same black hair absorbing the sunlight, eyes the color of the sunset, horns that grew to the size of a girl's palm, a height 1 head taller than her. This is what the young lord looked like right now. As soon as the guy came out of the lake, he immediately hugged his butler. "What were you doing here?" he also inquired from Leonardo. "Butler. At least let him take care of me for a little while," then asked Leonardo. But Julian did not think at all that Perry should care for him at all. That was also when Steam saw the strangers behind Leonardo. "Those are the intruders. I've set Talk's fire to watch them. They're not the first," explained Perry. Without thinking long, the guy decided to crush these intruders. He disposed of their bodies in a flash. "The next Demon King, Julian, has completed the awakening. Pass this on to your master," asked the bold and already quite adult Julian. After the guy had dealt with the bad knights, he then ordered Leonardo to clean up the place. "I hate it when Perry touches other guys, because Perry is mine, my personal butler," argued the guy. "You can't be so obsessed, sir," the girl then stated. However, Julian did not consider it an obsession. If you looked closely, he hadn't changed much. "Don't do that when you have a queen," the girl asked in a gentle voice. "You have completed the second awakening. Soon you will have to travel to find your mate. And though you say you don't need such a thing, it is only for now. Then you can meet the love of your life," Doll explained. "I like Perry, and I only want you," the guy then confessed. But still, the girl thought it was different from love. Though Julian himself really did like Perry, the fact that she just stayed by his side was already special to him. The one that dared to come close to me when no one else could. The one that broke through a solid wall that no one else would go behind. Does it matter if it's sympathy or addiction? What really matters? Pondered the boy. However, the doll sternly told him that he could not love her. After his awakening, Julian decided to come to his father to ask what love was. "Has my son returned a philosopher? Love is the feeling you have for your partner," explained the man. However, the boy then remarked that there was a type of parental love, and yet he decided to ask how it was different from sympathy. "Young master, you like Perry, don't you? What kind of feeling is that?" Leon then decided to ask. "I want her to always be by my side, because she's mine," Julian declared. "Son, you need to learn the difference between obsession and attachment," the man said then, and the boy decided to ask his father what obsession was. "You've grown on the outside, but you're still the same kid on the inside. Do you know why Perry works here in the first place?" Carl switched to a more serious topic. "Isn't it weird? Has nothing to do with demons, but he works for us," father also added. "She wants to die. That doll is powerful. I don't care if you cut off her head 3 times or locked her body parts in another room," the man pointed out. That's when the father noticed that his son's gaze hadn't changed, but the boy only asked in response not to change the subject. "Haven't you been told enough? The doll you are obsessed with has come to die by your hand." That's when the man decided to come clean. "She desires the destruction of her body by you. After all, you possess the most destructive power in the history of demons. In truth, I suggested it to her myself. What do you say? Will you give the doll freedom through death?" asked the question father. It was the most difficult question in the history of little Julian's life. Julian realized that then Perry would disappear. He also knew that it couldn't happen. "I won't give it," the boy stated clearly. It was then that his father wondered about the doll hurting him in some way, but he knew within a second that it wasn't true. "Then what are you going to do next?" inquired Carl to his own son. "What do you care? Perry's mine." The boy continued to insist. He was so angry that he didn't even finish his sentence, just silently walked out of his father's office. At this time, the girl herself was waiting for him under the door. If this isn't possession, then what is it? One look was enough to realize. It was the power of destruction. Now will I be able to return to the spirit world? The protagonist thought at that moment. Just then, the young master came out of his father's room. "Finished talking about the journey?" Immediately, the girl asked as soon as she met the young master. The girl herself decided that she would stay a little longer and then leave before he passed the third awakening. Perry was sure she would be patient until then. Did the talk about traveling go well? Who will be traveling with you as your chaperone? Immediately, the girl began to inquire. However, all the boy told her was that the matter had not yet been decided. "I'll go and find out," decided Perry. But no sooner had the girl entered the room than she was greeted by Leon. "You are still here. The master has assigned you an escort," the aide informed. He also indicated that it would be Perry's butler and Leonardo's servant. The young master immediately didn't like the fact that Leonardo would be going with them. "I've also been asked to convey these words. Whatever happens, know the measure. That's what he said," informed Leon regarding the words of the young lord's father. At this, the butler bid them farewell. "We will be moving out in the coming days," informed Julian, after which Perry decided to go somewhere. "I'm going to look for Leonardo. Tell him to get ready," explained the girl. But once she saw the way the young lord was angry, she thought of asking Leon to personally warn him instead of her. "I'll go to Nanny then," the girl decided in response. Leah, after all, was not yet aware that Julian had performed the awakening. "Show some respect for the other demons," asked the butler. Otherwise, at this rate, they wouldn't even find an assistant on the trip, let alone a life partner. At that moment, the guy suddenly grabbed his butler's hand. "Follow me," Julian asked in a quiet voice. Thus they passed through the greater half of the castle, holding hands. "Perry, what do you like? Jewelry or trinkets? Something from food? Do you have any hobbies?" The guy continued to ask. As it turned out, he was asking this to keep the girl on her toes. "If I fill this castle with everything you like, you won't leave even if you regret it," explained the guy. However, the girl stated that she wasn't going to leave. "Lie. Promise me that you will never leave me." That's when the young lord decided to ask and held out his hand. After that, he lightly bit down on the girl's pinky finger. "The movements of aristocratic demons are unusual." Meanwhile, the assistants in Carl's office reported. "It's incomprehensible. They must have a lot on their plate as it is," pondered the man. "Well, we've accomplished our goal anyway. Find out why they are so interested in the doll." Still, the king ordered. Leon worried if it would be all right for the young lord to travel with Perry in a situation where all eyes were on her. He needs to find a life companion and a helper for the arduous journey. I'm worried that Perry will only hinder him. Oh, and the young master's attitude towards her is a bit strange. Leon admitted, but the king surprisingly stated that this was exactly why they were traveling together. "Even in the castle, being together is dangerous. Think of young master," asked Leon. But his father was sure that the lad could handle everything just fine on his own. Julian's all grown up now. He can't be dealt with so easily. Father understood perfectly well. However, he's only just gone through the awakening, hasn't he? Isn't it worth protecting him? Questioned Leon. But his father was well aware that it would be him and the doll who would need protection. Julian could destroy it at any moment, after all. "Are you saying he could kill Perry?" Leon asked speculatively. "It would be a lot easier if he let her go so easily. Raising children is too hard," said his father savvily. Meanwhile, Julian had already taken a bite of his pinky finger. "Swear on your soul," demanded the boy from his butler. "Swear you'll never leave me," he begged. Now the girl had to give him an answer immediately, disregarding the tense situation.